Obsession is a movie that released just over a month and a half ago, and it's become the highest grossing original film of all time for a budget that's under 1 million. From this, it's had incredible weekends domestically for about 4 weeks straight, and the reason being for its acting, writing, its deep portrayal of characters for their internal or external conflicts, whether that's with their love relationships or their friend groups or family, and it handles it perfectly. This video is a bit different from what I usually do because it's about what makes Obsession so different compared to other movies that have a really high budget but just ends up being slop, and why Hollywood and other movies need to learn from movies like these. Obsession is a movie that stays with you, and what makes it special is the passion behind it, something that a lot of film directors and producers have lost over the years as it's all become money cash grab bullshit that's happening constantly. A perfect example of this is most horror movies nowadays, the DCU, Snyderverse, and a lot of mediocre slop Marvel put out through phase 4 and 5. It's actually part of the reason something like Obsession does so well, because it's a future that should be set for other movies from its originality, and how this story is something that takes a simple plot and expands it in a very creative way that is handled in a realistic manner. Take it like this, the whole point of Obsession is it's an indie movie that has a straightforward idea and expanded upon that concept as the film progressed. It deals with characters that aren't necessarily good people and are in a toxic relationship, with the real victim being Nikki, as before Bear did what he did. She was a kind and enjoyable person who was nice to hang around with, that people like Bear exploited that. Of course, it was by the One Wish Willow, which was something that could be relatable to people like us. Just randomly do a wish and not think it would work, as it's a supernatural thing that can create this fear of it even happening in the real world. How simple it was, as this thing was just lying in the store with Bear having the exact same intention as we would, which is not thinking anything would happen, but in effect something does happen, which he took advantage of. Obsession creates this very dark world around a singular object that isn't even the villain being Bear because of his intentions. It disperses a very selfish character that had taken control of something that he knew he should not have done. It's this emotional effect that defines Obsession and makes it different to other horror movies because of how it factors everything at once and makes it so complex and adds depth to the characters and a mixture of emotions for the audience, which really understands how Obsession stands out to other horror movies. It uses its budget and actors very sharply to make sure every moment has a meaning. An example of this can be the false chemistry between Bear and Nikki, which fits the movie perfectly, as it's surrounded by this forced romantic relationship that creates a distinction with Obsession compared to other movies. It doesn't just follow a basic plot that continues to be generic and predictable each minute of the movie. It's something that continues to expand upon what they've created without doing too much, to the point it becomes too complicated or over bloated. It leaves a straight line in the middle for the main character too, leaving people think if he's an evil, terrible person who is a true villain or is just a tragic antagonist from what he went through. Some may even find this sense of relatability from how his cat died and he's extremely emotional, or how he likes the girl and wants to be with her. But then again, you also take in how he didn't even bury his cat and he just threw it in the bin like a pile of trash, or how he abused Nikki completely from the stuff he did with her. The point I'm trying to make is horror movies as of recently, and movies from Hollywood in general, don't know how to take themselves seriously or follow a proper set story that is spread out really well from start to end. Instead, we just get put out constant slop and mediocre to okay films from the horror genre or even Hollywood movies in general. An indie movie like Obsession should be seen as like a calling card to high budget movies, that they should use their budget they have wisely, no matter how high or how low it is, to make something. If niche indie films can make something special and so impactful to the point it crosses 425 million worldwide, that means other movies can be successful too by actually trying and putting clear effort in their movies. I am aware there is another indie like movie that's released called The Backrooms, and I'll talk about it in an upcoming video, but all you need to know is that it does what it does. A movie that may not be flawless but actually has clear effort put into it. I will share some of my thoughts on this. I don't think it's a great film, but it does a solid job with showing the vibe of what The Backrooms is and what it can do to a depressed and lost person. The clear point is that it has genuine effort put into it, but things like Obsession clearly stand out and hold a special place in people's hearts forever because of what it does and how it uses that energy to create a movie that the audience can enjoy throughout their life. And things that Hollywood produce, like the DCEU or the Marvel stuff that we've seen in phase 4 or 5, or the terrible horror movies that we have, has no sign of clear love or passion genuinely put into them. Things like indie movies actually are probably the future for movies, because they will have actual passion and love and care, and they know they put work into their project. It would have a good outcome, which it would make a lot, just like how Obsession did. I'm not aware how much Backrooms has made, but yeah, kind of that too. It's just this whole idea and this over stimulation of getting constantly bad movies to the point that there's going to be one time where people just will not care anymore about, I don't know, stuff like Marvel or more generic horror film or the DCU. And obviously, yeah, that might change, but we never know for the future, and we have to see what it holds, really. With that being said, that's going to be all for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.